The year 1590, a lone wooden ship emerged from the thick Atlantic fog, dropping anchor near the shores of Roanoke Island. John White, the governor of the English colony, stepped onto the beach after a grueling 3-year journey across the ocean. He was desperate to see his family, his daughter, and his newborn granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. But as the crew walked into the settlement, an eerie, bone-chilling silence greeted them. The heavy wooden fort, built to protect over 100 English men, women, and children, was completely empty. Houses had been neatly dismantled, not burned down. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, and no blood. The only clue left behind was a single, cryptic word carved into a wooden post of the fort, CROATOAN. And on a nearby tree, just 3 letters, CRO. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Did they starve? Were they massacred? Or did they step into a vortex that history has spent over 4 centuries trying to erase? Today, we are unlocking the vault on America's oldest and most terrifying unsolved mystery. To understand the horror of Roanoke, we have to go back to 1587. Queen Elizabeth I wanted to establish a permanent English footprint in North America to challenge the massive wealth and power of the Spanish Empire. Sir Walter Raleigh funded the expedition, appointing John White to lead a group of 115 brave settlers across the treacherous Atlantic Ocean. These weren't hardened soldiers, they were ordinary families, artisans, and farmers looking for a new life. They landed on Roanoke Island, off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. In the beginning, hope was high. But the beauty was a deception. The settlers quickly realized they had arrived too late in the season to plant crops. To make matters worse, the relations with the local Native American tribes were deeply fractured due to a failed English military expedition on the island a few years prior. Within just 1 month, supplies began to dry up. Starvation was staring them in the face. Realizing that the colony would not survive the winter, the settlers begged Governor John White to sail back to England. White didn't want to leave his family, but he had no choice. Before he boarded his ship, he made a strict pact with the settlers. If they had to leave the island due to danger or distress, they must carve the name of their new destination onto a tree or a post. And if they were fleeing in immediate danger, they had to carve a Maltese cross above the name. John White arrived in England in late 1587, fully intending to gather supplies and sail back immediately. But history had other plans. Just as his ships were getting ready to launch, a massive geopolitical storm hit Europe. The Spanish Armada, the largest and most terrifying naval fleet of the time, launched an all-out invasion against England. Queen Elizabeth commanded a total lockdown on all shipping. Every single English vessel, including John White's supply ships, was seized for the war effort. White was trapped, helpless, watching the months turn into years, knowing that his daughter and granddaughter were stranded on the edge of a wild, unexplored continent with absolutely no food. For 3 long years, the war raged on. Finally, in 1590, after the defeat of the Spanish Armada, White was granted permission to sail back to Roanoke. The journey across the sea was agonizingly slow, plagued by brutal storms and unpredictable winds. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, modern-day Hatteras Island, located about 50 miles south, which was home to a friendly Native American tribe led by a chief named Manteo, who had actually visited England and was an ally to the colonists. White felt a wave of relief. The settlers must have moved south to live with Manteo's tribe to survive the starvation. He immediately ordered the crew to sail toward CROATOAN Island. But Roanoke wasn't going to let them go that easily. As the ships prepared to weigh anchor and head south toward CROATOAN Island, the weather turned violent. A massive Atlantic storm slammed into the coast. The sea became a raging monster, snapping the anchor cables of White's main ship. They lost their freshwater supply, their provisions were dangerously low, and the treacherous shallow waters threatened to smash the entire fleet into pieces on the coral reefs. The crew grew panicked and rebellious. They refused to sail further into the storm to search for the colonists. With the ships heavily damaged, the captain made a brutal decision. They had to abandon the search and sail back toward the Caribbean and England to save their own lives. John White was broken. He was only 50 miles away from where his family might be living, but he was forced to turn his back on them. He returned to England a ruined man, never able to raise the money to fund another search expedition. He died a few years later, never knowing the true fate of his family. Over the last 400 years, Roanoke remained a dark blank space in history. What really happened to those 115 souls? Over the last 400 years, Historians and scientists have proposed chilling theories to solve the mystery of Roanoke. The most logical theory is the assimilation theory. Historians believe that faced with extreme starvation, the colonists abandoned the fort and moved south to live with the CROATOAN tribe, eventually marrying into the native population and blending away their European identity. In later years, explorers reported seeing Native American children with light gray eyes and blonde hair in that region, and some tribal languages carried distinct English-sounding words. But there is a darker, more terrifying theory: the slaughter. Some believe the colonists tried to move inland toward the mainland, where they were completely massacred by a hostile rival tribe to prevent English expansion. In recent years, advanced radar technology and archaeological digs discovered English pottery fragments and unique coins deep in the inland forests, suggesting the colony might have split into smaller groups, scattering into the dark, unforgiving wilderness where they were slowly consumed by history. Did they survive as part of a new civilization? Or did they meet a violent, hidden end in the deep woods of the New World? The carved word CROATOAN remains a haunting echo from the past, a riddle written in wood that may never be truly answered. What do you believe happened to the lost colony? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to journey deeper into the darkest corners of history, smash that like button and subscribe to History Vortex. Until next time, keep questioning the past.